Hi, I call these segments Golf Course for Dummies. And I want to discuss some dangerous things on a golf course, which is water. In Golf Course for Dummies, we'll be covering water coolers, uh, different contamination, what dumb people who are hired with no education and experience be doing. Now, these are the chances you take when you hire somebody without an education or care. They ain't even got to have an education, but they must care. For instance, one day me and the superintendent on my last job were sitting in the office. We got a call that the water won't go off on 17, right? So we go to 17. We go in the pump house. It had good hydraulic pressure. Hydraulic is what keep the sprinklers down from coming on. You know what I mean? When you release the hydraulic, the sprinkler come on, right? So the hydraulic pressure was normal. And then my boss said, wait a minute, let's check the hydraulic pump at the office. And I'm like, hydraulic pump at the office, right? So we go. And the pump kept coming on out. Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun, dun dun. He said, oh, that's a major leak somewhere, right? I said, but how do a hydraulic pump get to the main office? I don't understand. Where it pumping from? He said, oh, it tied into our city water line. I said, but the hydraulic is lake water. He said, well, we needed more pressure on the back nine, so we decided to run a well at the shop that connects to the lake hydraulic, but it's city water pressure, and it help keep the heads down, right? So now I'm puzzled. I'm like, wow, what the hell is this man talking about? You know, it don't make sense. So we fixed the leak. And I was wondering the whole while, why is the water on the 17 and not all over the place? Because it should be on everywhere. The head should be leaking, or a sprinkler should be on, right? But then when he told me about the city water, lake water connection, that answered the questions, right? So we got the new general manager, and when I say new, I mean he was there like, let's say 1 year. But one day he had a meeting with me and the superintendent, and he say, I want y'all to give me a list of what y'all would do if y'all was the general manager, right? I say I would change that city water hydraulic pump. I will plug it, and I will get a pump at the pump house that pump out the lake, because they're contaminating the city water on the entire property. General manager say, what you say don't make sense. Y'all show me. We took them to the shop. You know, the last room, it had the city water pump. I say, this is tied to the lake water. We keep the sprinkler from coming on. So then we went to the pump house, right? And he said, but why can't this be the only one used? And the superintendent said, well, the sprinkler kept coming on the back nine, and somewhere down the line they decided to dig a well at the shop to connect to the lake water, right? He said, but the check valve prevent water from the lake to contaminate the city water. I say impossible. I say them pumps in the pump house are giants. The pump at the shop is just 2.5 horsepower. No way 2.5 going to stop 60 horsepower. So whenever that valve open up at the shop, the city water valve, that pump house power is overriding it and pushing it back into the city water, therefore contaminating the whole property. And you're not going to believe what the superintendent said to the general manager. Well, the member had a vote, and they say they don't mind drinking a little lake water to have a beautiful golf course. I say that can't be true because when I got here, their golf course looked like shit. I say, but again, you put in lives. You put in grass and water over people's lives, bro. These old people live out here. I say their whole property is contaminated, man. Y'all crazy, right? So the general manager said, well, I'm gonna take some bids and get somebody in here to maybe dig a well to put a pump, to run lines, to put a pump. We'll run off one of the pumps at the clubhouse. I say, sir, you still contaminating. Just get a pump and run it, hook it to the hydraulic coming out the lake to bring more pressure. Why you keep trying to connect to city water? So he said, well, I'm going to take bids and I'll get back with y'all, right? So months and months passed. And I went to the general manager. I said, what bids you got, boss? He dropped his head. I said, what's wrong, boss? He said, it's a cost $1,900 to run lines from the pump house and tied into the bike 9 with a new pump. I say, and you think $1,900 is too much to save lives, man? And he dropped his head. I say, y'all still more than that a goddamn month on y'all spend more than that on y'all goddamn cars a month. And that was it. They put grass and water over people's lives. But that's what you get when you hire people with no experience. The degree don't matter. You just play like you don't even need a degree. But just experience. And that they care. There's no telling how many people them people killed. Every time you look around, somebody dead. How they die? Oh, some unknown bacteria or some unknown stomach virus. It coming from the goddamn lake water. That golf course for dummies.